because I think what we have to do here is separate the talk about de-dollarization from the reality of potential de-dollarization, because those are two very, very different things. And you know as well as I do, maybe over the last 5, 6 years or so, the talk of de-dollarization has gone like this. And I actually think the temperature of real de-dollarization has come way down. There was, I believe, 2011, 2012, as China was really getting into this transformation mode, there was more, maybe more serious taking a look at de-dollarization, because you look at the Chinese, for example, because they're the one that always comes up, right? Everybody says China's going to eat our lunch and take over the reserve currency and use that to take over the world. And I think for a little while there, the Chinese said, let's give it a shot. Now, they opened up Hong Kong. They started an offshore yuan marketplace. But that didn't go very far, and it didn't go very long. And by 2017, 2018, the Chinese were shutting everything down. At the same time, the talk of de-dollarization, remember the petro yuan? Oh my God, that was so supposed to be the big thing. The talk of de-dollarization went way up when I think the appetite went way down.
I kind of hinted at this a few minutes ago, but when I first started looking at this stuff, kind of 2006 to 2007 timeframe, I knew there was a big mess. And so I was kind of prepared for, the 2008 global financial crisis. Now, I was not smart enough to figure out that that meant all the banks were going to fail. I just knew that there was a big mess and we were going to have some kind of a crisis. And that allowed me to kind of get through the crisis, but I didn't really necessarily understand it. But then on the other side of that crisis, then I was like, you know what, I really need to figure this out. I want to actually understand it. And when I first started looking into it, I was like, well, they just need to get away from the dollar. They need to stop, the Fed's going to get out of this global financial crisis, they're going to print, and that's going to make the dollar go down. And, the world's going to get sick of it and they're going to implement this other system. And I probably believed that for 2 or 3 years. And then when it didn't happen, I was like, well, why isn't it happening? This should be happening, right? And I would go talk to people and they said, oh, it's going to happen. The other people that were in the de-dollarization camp or in the gold camp or in the alternative system camp, oh, it will happen. It will happen. The US can't keep doing this forever. They can't get away with this forever. But they would never really answer the question of why not. They would just say it can't go on. And so I got pretty frustrated with that. And that's when I really started digging in. And at the time, I think it was 2014, because I remember talking to Raul, and Raul was a big gold bug, or a big believer in gold like I was. But he also said the dollar was going to get a lot stronger. And I was like, what are you talking about? I was thinking to myself, how can this guy who's so smart think the dollar is going to go higher? And then lo and behold, the second half of 2014, the dollar made a massive move higher. And that's when I sat back and I was like, well, I'm clearly missing something, right? And part of it was that I think a little bit like what I was talking about before, I kind of wanted to see it happen, right? I was very upset with what transpired in 2008. I didn't think it was right. I didn't think it was fair. And when I took a step back, I realized I was projecting my own desires onto a market.
That's it right there. And I think
Yeah.
when we're talking about separating the talk about de-dollarization from when it can actually happen, that's it right there. It's the emotion. It's the Tea Party ethos. It's the how dare they bail out these big banks? We need to put a stop to how dare they, the government push these fiscal deficits on us. And the only way to stop these people the only way to get them to learn is if the dollar crashes. And then we can sit in the ashes and say, I told you so. I told you this was going to happen. I told you that you were going to blow up the system. And I think that's where a lot of this comes from. This dollar doom theory starts from a righteous place. It starts from that place that, damn it, you're right. You are right. The government did go crazy, and it didn't fix anything either. So we did all of this for nothing. It's just that they're channeling all of that energy and that indignation in the wrong direction. They've been saying, this has to blow up because this is wrong. And so they keep waiting for it to blow up, and I think that's where the talk comes. They keep hyping every little tiny thing along the way as if this is the spark that's going to light the fuse and blow up the dollar.